President Biden and Democrats, ramping up their rage at the Supreme Court after a bombshell leak indicated that the High Court is ready to strike down Roe versus Wade. Protesters taking to the streets in major liberal cities chanting, "We won't go back." Some clashing with the LAPD. Police say a group there threw rocks and bottles at the officers, and one cop was injured. Top Democrats echoing the fury coming from the base.
I am angry because an extremist United States Supreme Court thinks that they can impose their extremist views on all of the women of this country, and they are wrong.
Yeah. How dare they? How dare they try to stop her from determining her own future? How dare they try to deny women their rights and their freedoms?
President Biden adding fuel to the fire earlier and lobbying some serious attacks at Republicans.
This is about a lot more than abortion. What happens if you have a state changes the law saying that children who are LGBTQ can't be in classrooms with other children? Is that legit under the way that the decision is written? What are the next things that are going to be attacked? Because this MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history.
Judge, I do want to start with that because there's also this idea that the left is pushing less than 24 hours after this leak that the Supreme Court next they're going to ban interracial marriage, which would be very strange for Clarence Thomas to do, I have to say.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look, you know, according to Joe Biden and the Dems, the sky is falling. I mean, this is like for them, the worst thing. If they can predict anything will happen, they will use this as a reason to fire up the base because they have nothing going for them in the midterms. But make no mistake, Griswold versus Connecticut, Loving versus Virginia, all those other cases, Alito was very clear in the decision, quote, "We emphasize that our decision concerns the constitutional right to abortion and no other right. Nothing in this opinion should be understood to cast doubt on other precedents that do not concern abortion." He makes it specific this is about abortion. And in addition, some of those other rights are based on equal protection, civil rights, not necessarily on the right to privacy. So that should all be removed from the discussion of this case.
Geraldo, we haven't had a chance to hear from you on this show on this week. Let's give you the floor.
I think that, first of all, Republicans make a mistake when they emphasize the crime of the leak itself over the impact of what the decision would entail for the women. And I think that emotion, however you think of those particular personalities, that is legit. This is more problematic, I think. And Judge, I think you'd agree with me. What this shows, because it goes both ways, what this shows is that the Senate confirmation process by which a nominee is interrogated by both parties and give their reasons why they are fit to be on the high court is absolutely deeply flawed. Why? Because these nominees lie. Whoa. They go before the Senate of the United States. They swear that they're going to be judicious and good, shepherds of the court and its impartiality and the importance it has in American society, and that the stare decisis, that the precedent of these cases, well established, 30 years, 40 years, 49 years, that is something that the Supreme Court honors. And then they turn around the minute they get in the high court, they make a decision that is so dramatically opposed to what they said during the confirmation hearings. Shame on them. Shame on Gorsuch. Shame on Coney Barrett. Shame on Kavanaugh. They knew when they were swearing to those senators or in the conversations in the Senate offices that they were going to vote to reverse or overthrow Roe v. Wade. They knew it, and they lied about it. And I don't know how you fix that. I don't know how you can repair when the most sacred office in the land, the High Court of the United States, is peopled by politicians.
You know, if I was accused of being a serial rapist because I liked beer at 16, I'd probably say whatever I needed to get the hell out of that building.
I agree with that, Joey.
Shame on them. Shame on the 100 senators.
Let me disagree, because you said that I would agree with you. I absolutely do not agree with you. There was no lying to the Senate. To that Judiciary Committee, because they talked about stare decisis. Stare decisis means that you follow precedent. They were clear to say this is not one of the super due process cases like Brown versus Board of Education that overturned Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal. Yep. Okay, they were very clear, especially Amy Coney Barrett. She was very clear to say stare decisis means that the courts under us have to respect our decision as the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. And unless it's super due process, unless it's like Brown versus Board of Education, where you cannot separate white and black children, then we can decide based upon what comes before us what we can do.
I have three daughters in the state of Ohio. Okay. There's a fetal heartbeat law that will now be in
That's
place.
A different issue.
It will now be the law of the state of Ohio. And what am I going to tell my daughters now? That they don't have control over their body, that they can't make those choices for themselves, that some old man scratching his belly in some other state is going to say,
it's not. Amy Coney Barrett is not an old man scratching her belly.
I want to play the
7 old men did the Roe v. Wade decision, in case you forgot.
Yeah. Let's listen to some media responses to all of this, if we could, please.
The founding fathers didn't recognize abortion as a fundamental right because the founding fathers were racist, misogynist jerk faces. So that's the history that Sam Alito is accessing.
And honestly, at this point, I think we're all right to question the legitimacy of the court.
No one is safe. This overturning Roe will be a mass criminalization event.
So don't think this is just a war on women. It could be a war on people of color and gay people.
What?
All right, Greg, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this, I think, before this show yesterday or the break, but this is why pro-lifers win, because they can state their case so plainly. Yeah. You ask somebody why they're pro-life, they will say, because abortion takes a life, and we believe life is sacred. You can disagree with that, but you can't disagree with the simplicity of it, right? But the problem with the pro-choicers is that they don't have the balls to state their case plainly. Just say, like, I prefer freedom over fetuses. Don't sit here and come up with all of these other things like it's going to be interracial marriage next.
My body, my choice. How much simpler can you get?
Let me finish. You already did your ad hominem. We were talking about this. Yeah, you insulted a few people there. We talked about this. People are more concerned about what they lose than what they will gain because you don't have to imagine loss. All you got to do is talk to somebody who lost a child. But you can't. You don't have to imagine it, and it's there forever. A pro-choice mom can look at her adorable 2-year-old and think, my life would be nothing without her in 2022. In 2017, when she was young and single, didn't have a kid, she could only imagine the loss of her freedom, right? So that's the issue. The issue here is that people need to imagine, right? They can't step back and see how pro-choice arguments are driven by a refusal to imagine what that baby could be. But then when that baby bees, then suddenly it changes, right? And then they have to create reasons. They have to create all these reasons to be pro-choice, rather than just be honest and say, yeah, it kills an unborn kid, but I prefer my freedom. That's all you got to say. You'll get so much more respect. The other thing that drives me crazy, now that I'm on my soapbox, is it used to be even the pro-choicers would admit that abortion was an ugly thing, but they felt it had to be a necessary evil, something that would be safe and rare. That was the argument you always heard.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.